Hi, students, and welcome to week 11. We're going to talk about your interview project. So I'm going to pull up the interview research assignment guidelines that you have posted on your assignments link. And this project is worth 75 points. Okay, so this is a lot of points. You'll need to do a thorough job on this and make sure you follow all of the guidelines that I have here in this document in order to get full points, okay? All right. Now to start out, what you want to do is click on this link, okay, from ResearchGate, and it's a journal article about something called socio-emotional selectivity theory, okay? I kind of described that a little bit last week, but you want to read this pretty much in depth and then write down all of the important things that you can find in this paper, okay? Because much of this summary that you're going to be making will appear in your interview paper, okay? Now, as you read this article, you're going to find that age is strongly associated with time perspective. In other words, when you're younger, you think the time is unlimited, right? But as you get older toward middle adulthood or a little bit past that, you start to know that at some point you're going to die. Okay, so that's kind of a time that is limited. Okay, for older people, maybe in middle adulthood or older. But usually, younger adults really don't think about death that much unless they experience some kind of illness or some kind of traumatic situation, right? So most normal young adults will think that, I have a lot of time left in my life, okay? While older adults know that it's limited. Okay, that's the main take-home message of this paper, at least one of them, okay? The second take-home message is about the motivations that younger and older adults have, that are primary to them, okay? And I mentioned last week that, younger adults will be focused on gaining information in order to set up a career, okay? And set up their relationships and think about what's going on right now to sort of have a successful life. So they're building things, right? They're building knowledge and they're building their career and they're building their relationships, okay? And so they're planning ahead because time left in life is unlimited, okay? Now, older adults or middle adults who have reached a certain age begin to think the time left in life is limited. And so at some point, they're going to start removing negative people and negative circumstances from their lives as much as possible, okay? Now, still, they're probably working and maybe have some negative situations at work, but when they get home, they want to feel positive about themselves, okay? And so now the primary motivation for, middle adults going through to older adulthood, those guys are going to be concerned with, having emotion regulation, regulating their emotions so they feel positive, okay? When you're younger, it doesn't matter. You can be around negative or positive people. And the deal is that you learn from all sorts of people, right? You're picking up knowledge and you may have, on purpose, included a few negative people around you so that you get a different perspective, right, on certain things that you wouldn't get if you had all really positive people around you, okay? Because you're not going to get differing perspectives, okay? The good thing about being young is you can get those different perspectives from both negative and positive people, okay? And you learn from those people, okay? How you want to be, okay? How you want to set up your career, how you want to set up your relationship, okay? So having both negative and positive people around you is cool. when you're younger. Okay, they may cause you some trouble or negative emotions, but you learn from having some negative people in your social network. Okay, but as you get older, you start to trim those people out of your social network as much as possible. Now, there may be some family members, right, that cause you negative feelings with their family. So they're still in your social network, but maybe you kind of avoid those people as much as possible to create this positive buffer around you. Okay. So positivity is really important in older adulthood. Okay, back to this. Now it says, now you will come up with one open-ended question. Okay, I'll tell you what an open-ended question is. Psychologists might ask you, what is the meaning of life? Can you talk about that for 5 minutes? Okay, and that's an open-ended question, right? You'll just respond with lots and lots of verbal data. Okay. So an open-ended question is not a structured question, but you do write it down so that you ask the same participants the same thing each time. Okay. But it's open-ended and people can respond any way they want to. All right. So you're coming up with this one open-ended question. You're going to have two participants in your study. Okay. You're going to ask their consent if they want to participate in an interview project for a class. Okay. Now, the first person or one of the people is going to be either an adolescent or an adult that is young. Okay. So you want an interview with an adolescent or an adult that is young. Okay. The second person in your study is going to be a middle-aged or older adult. Okay. It could be your parents, could be your grandparents, could be somebody from work who's middle-aged or older, somebody from school who's middle-aged or older. Okay. And you can conduct your study with that person as well. So you have two people in your study. You're going to ask them the same open-ended question. Okay. And then you're going to record what they say. Okay. Now, you can either do these interviews in person if you want to, if you feel comfortable doing that, or you can set up a Zoom or Teams or some other software link where you can, interact with them via a computer or a cell phone, and you can record their voice, okay, as they talk about this open-ended question that you've asked. Okay. Now, this one open-ended question will start with the words, talk for 5 minutes about, and then you're going to ask the question, okay? This will give the interviewee the knowledge that they are going to talk for a pretty long period of time about the topic you'll ask about, okay? Now, if you get a really introverted person to be one of your interviewees, it's going to be kind of like pulling teeth, right? To get a pretty long response from those folks. Now, it doesn't have to last for 5 minutes. 5 minutes is a really long time for a person to talk. It could just last for a minute or two, okay? But you want to get all the information that you can from this person when you interview them on this open-ended question, okay? Now, what you want to do is subtly ask the person who's being interviewed how long they expect to live, okay? And what you're going to get from that part of the question is, do they have a time perspective that is unlimited? I'm never going to die, right? Or do they see their years left in life as limited, okay? Yeah, so, if you were to ask me that part of the question, I'd probably say, well, I've thought about death and I think I'll retire in about 10 years or 5 years, and then I'll probably live for 15 more, okay? Hopefully, that's what I expect. And so you can see that my time left in life is limited in terms of the way I think about the rest of my life, okay? So that's going to be part of your open-ended question. You want to know how long the person thinks that they're going to live, okay? And then the second part of the question, this is all going to be one question, but the second part of the question is going to be, Describe what motivations you have in your life right now. Okay. And then you're going to get, some ideas about what their motivations are in their current perspective. Okay. Now, this sounds like two questions, right? But you will be able to come up with one open-ended question that includes both of these ideas. In other words, how long do you expect to live, right? And what is your primary motivation right now? Okay. You could just ask it like that, right? Talk for about 5 minutes about how long you think you're going to live and what your primary motivation is right now. Okay. Now, they may not be able to remember all that stuff, so you might even, on your screen, type out the question for them and put it in a Word document, share your screen, and say, I'd like you to follow these instructions. Okay, I'm going to record your voice and then let them talk and talk. Now, some people don't talk and talk, so we're going to talk about how to get them to talk. Okay, you're going to do this interview in a really unbiased way. It's not going to be like a journalist who asks certain questions and presses somebody to get kind of their spin on things, right? This is going to be a really unbiased interview. These people are just going to talk and you're going to listen, right? You're going to record their voice. Don't influence your interviewee to say something that you want them to say. Okay, that's not the purpose of this. We want to hear from their reality, exactly, what they um, understand about themselves. Okay. Now, if they do stop talking, or if they forget part of your question, at least the question is up there on the screen where they can, continue talking. But let's say they stop, okay? They're in the middle of, their speech, and then at some point they kind of dwindle off and they say something like, well, that's about all I know about my motivations. Okay. Now, the way to have them continue, if they haven't been speaking for too long, is say motivations. Okay. I just took the last word that the person said before they stopped, right? And I reflected it like a mirror back to them. And then it sounds like a question, doesn't it? So, motivations. Okay, and then they will start to stumble forward and talk more about their motivations. Okay, it's a way to kind of keep people talking without you interjecting another question. Okay, this is called reflexive interviewing. Okay, so if you have kind of a shy person or somebody who kind of just, I don't know, they kind of run out of things to say, then the best way to continue the interview is just to reflect their last few words or their last word back to them. Okay, so they'll continue talking at least for some time. Okay, we don't know how long they'll talk, but at least they'll continue to talk. Okay, so that's called reflexive interviewing method. All right. Now, this is part of an analysis called interpretive phenomenological analysis. Okay, so this is the next part of what we're going to be doing for this interview project. After you get your two interviews done, you're going to read a handout that I have with the assignment that's on interpretive phenomenological analysis. Okay, and you'll read about that and understand, and you will use that method both in the interview where you use reflexive interviewing methods, and then also to write up your work. Now, what do you get, after you read the handout on IPA, or interpretive phenomenological analysis? You're going to find that you're going to be extracting themes from what that person has said. Okay, and you're going to be putting those in a chart. Okay, now let me stop for a minute and I'm going to share the screen on, let me try to find this um, paper that I've been looking at if I can. Where is it? Let's see. Okay, I should have it down here somewhere. Um, let's see if I can get this up in Zoom so that you can see what I've been looking at. Okay, there it is. Okay, now, so I'm sharing this. Now, this is from an actual paper that used interpretive phenomenological analysis. And you can see here that we have some themes in little boxes, okay, in a chart. And they have interviewed some older persons who have talked about death and dying, and they're in a nursing home or an assisted living center. Okay. And so they've interviewed these people, and this is what they got from a group of participants. Okay. So here it looks like there's some language that has to do with the unavoidable and unknown end of life. Okay. It looks like they misspelled unknown there. And then there are some themes, sub themes, right, that fit into that category. So they have some worries and wishes related to dying, death as a natural closure, and views on remaining alive. Okay, this sounds kind of like what you're going to be doing in this, right? All right, that's one theme with sub themes under it. Okay, now the next part of this chart says thoughts on control. Okay, these words are derived directly from the transcripts that people have made from these interviews. Okay, so someone said, I have some thoughts on control. Okay, and they just pulled those words right out of the transcript and they made that the major theme. Okay, now the sub themes under that, thoughts on control, says loss of function and independence. Okay, somebody said that I've lost some function and I'm not as independent as I used to be, or something like that. So they've condensed that, right? And it says a controlled death. All right. So these are things that have to do with thoughts and control. You want to be able to control your own, I guess, parameters around death or something. But one of the participants said, or several participants said, I'm sorry, that they wanted a controlled death. All right. Now, the third primary theme up here, living your last period of life at a nursing home. So I'm sure that several residents said that, right? I'm living in a nursing home, and this is kind of the last period of my life. So they pull this down into a major theme. This is the third one. And then under that, it says living together with others. So these came from transcripts. Probably several people said this. I'm living together with others in the nursing home. Okay. And so that's a sub theme of living your last period of life at a nursing home. And then confinement and boredom were probably two themes. Excuse me. There were probably two themes that came from the transcript. So, you know, the residents felt confined and the residents felt bored. Okay. Again, there's a misspelling in this. How was this paper published with all these misspellings? I would fire the editor for that. Okay. So anyway, what you're going to come up with is a table of themes for the adolescent, younger adult. Okay. And then a second table of themes for the middle-aged or older adult. Okay. And you're going to have just a couple of these in your paper in the results section. Okay. Let me go back to the guidelines for the interview project. All right. So you will create a table of themes and use that for interpretation of time left in life and motivation for each of your interviewees. So you'll have two of those, okay, two tables. All right, so this is how your paper is going to be structured. You're going to go to this link, the APA style link, and you're going to find a student sample paper there, okay? And this is a link directly to where it says sample papers, okay? You click on that, then you'll find student sample papers in a document, a Word document, okay? and just use that one. Now, what you're going to do is create a cover sheet, just like in that sample document, and you'll put your name and your title and your instructor on that cover sheet, okay, in place of what they have in this sample sheet, okay? That'll be worth 5 points. Second item, second page in your paper is going to be a short introduction section. Now, in this intro, you're going to have your summary of this paper up here. And you remember this one up here, okay? So you're going to summarize that in some depth and put that in as your introduction section, okay? You might describe, socio-emotional selectivity is a theory created by Carstensen in 1992, etc. And it explains both, the perception of time left in life and also the primary motivations of, adults, okay? And then you just talk about all of that in your introduction. And then that's going to be worth 10 points possible, okay? Now, the third or fourth page is going to be the method section. Depends on how long your intro is going to be, right? But the third page or the fourth page is going to be the method section. Now, in a method section, we're not going to do it exactly like a journal article. You don't have to, okay? But mainly, you're just going to, put a heading that says method, and then you're going to talk about your two participants, right? How old was the adolescent or young adult? Okay, you can put the age of that person in there, and also their gender. Don't identify them by name, okay? Do not say my older cousin Jean, who is 16, was one of the interviewees. You don't want to do that because we don't want to disclose personal identifications in a research paper, okay? You can use a pseudonym, like instead of Gene, you could call him Charlie or something like that, okay? Let's see, let's see, my younger participant or the younger participant in the study, pseudonym Charlie, was 16 years old and was a male, okay? That's enough on that person. And then you talk about your older person, your middle-aged or older adult that you interviewed also, okay? And then you can say, well, I interviewed an 89-year-old male named pseudonym Jim or something like that, okay? And that'll take care of the participants in the study. And I just want to know about your participants, right? Are they, I don't know, of lower socioeconomic status? In other words, do they have low education levels, or do they have high education levels? I'd like to know about all these items. What is their income like? Okay, you don't want to ask them that, but just kind of perceive it by the person that you select for the study, okay? And include some of this information in the method. All right, that one's going to be worth 10 points. The next section is going to be the results section. Now, in the results section, I want to see these two tables of themes, one for the younger adult, one for the older adult. Have those two tables, right? And I just showed you how to create those. You're going to take it directly from their language in their transcript and make themes and then sub-themes that fit into those overarching themes, right? And you're going to put that in your paper. You can create them in Excel. You can create a table in Word if you want to, however you want to do it, okay? But I want two tables of themes that come from those transcripts of their interviews, okay? So I want only their language, not your language. Don't reinterpret the themes, okay? What you want to do, if they said, I am studying in the university to be an architect, okay? Then you want to say studying to be an architect in the theme, okay? And that just shows, one of the motivations of, knowledge gain for younger adults, right? So that's an important theme that you want to put in this table. All right. In the results section, then, after these two tables, you want to kind of analyze what are the similarities and what are the differences between the themes for the younger person and the older person. And then how do those apply to socio-emotional selectivity theory? All right, you want to just complete your results section with those ideas, okay? And now, after the results, you're going to write a conclusion section. Okay, this is kind of a lot of things to do for this paper, and so you probably want to get started right away on this, right? Go ahead and interview a couple of people, and then transcribe everything they say, and then create these tables, and then go from there. You're going to have wait, how many points was that section? Results section is 30 points, so make sure that's really detailed, okay? It looks like the results section has the most points in it, so you want to do a really, really good job in the results section, right? All right, now the conclusion section ties all the ideas in the paper together, okay? So you'll start out with kind of a recap of what you said in the intro, kind of a recap of what you said in the method, right? And then you'll talk about the results and what were the major themes, and then how do those apply to socio-emotional selectivity theory, right? And then kind of tie everything together in that conclusion. Now, maybe the older adult was still gaining information, okay? Did they deviate from the ideas that are produced in socio-emotional selectivity theory? Maybe they did, okay? And so you want to discuss that in this conclusion section, okay? Then, oh, and that one's worth 15 points, okay? Now, the references section is last. In that APA website link that I gave you, there is a reference format that they use, and you want to follow that for this paper, okay? So make sure that you do. And then any citations that you make in your paper, let's say from this person up here called Helene Fung, all right, you'll probably want to, write that reference item for her paper, follow APA format that's shown in that APA style guideline, okay? And then you also want to cite this research methods book that I'm providing, the section on interpretive phenomenological analysis, okay? Now let me show you that just real quick. I have that handout right here, yeah. Okay, so this is kind of hard to see. I did a poor job of scanning this, but you should be able to, make out some of these words, I hope. But this talks all about the IPA method. And I just copied 2.5 pages of that, okay? And then on the last page, here's all the information that you need to put into a reference item for, when you talk about interpretive phenomenological analysis in your paper, you want to use that reference, okay? I'm sorry, I'm coughing like crazy today. I don't have COVID or anything like that, but all right, where is this? Okay, so this paper is due at the end of the semester. All right, see your tentative course schedule in the syllabus to know when it's due and by what time. Okay. Now, I've also put in that tentative course schedule that if you want to meet with me, if you're having trouble with anything at all, and you want to do just a short Zoom meeting or a long one, contact me, okay? And I'll set one up and we can talk about, problems that you have or questions that you have about this research study, okay? Because it is worth 75 points, so you're going to have to do a really good job on it. I would go ahead and try to write most of the paper, or if you get the paper done in rough draft form, you want me to look at it, and then we have a meeting on it if you want to, I can give you tips, okay? So it might be a good idea to do some writing and get your tables ready at least, where we can look at them together and talk about those things, okay? And I don't mind doing that, between now and the end of the semester. I don't want to do it the day before it's due, but let's do it at some, good point, a couple of weeks from now or 3 weeks from now before you turn it in, okay? But the link is already up for you to submit this assignment. And you can submit it anytime between now and that deadline that's shown on your tentative course schedule, okay? All right, very good. That is my lecture for this week. I hope you've had a really good week and you guys have a good rest of the week. And I'll see you next time for more fun, okay? Bye-bye.